Welcome to the Authentic Wife Show. I'm Beth Rolls, a conscious marriage coach and author of The Authentic Wife, Uncaging Yourself Through Marriage. I help driven moms who love their kids more than they hate their marriage use the conflict in their relationship to become their most authentic selves so they can create a relationship and life they don't want to escape from. Stop waiting for your husband to evolve and start making every day feel like a vacation. You can find my book, tons of free resources, and Happily Ever After, the only marriage-saving coaching program, on my website, theauthenticwifeandmom.com. Thanks for joining me today. Let's get started. Welcome back to the show. I'm so happy to have you here today. My topic for today is, what does fear or inauthenticity look like in a relationship? And when I was planning that topic, there were probably all kinds of things that I thought of to talk about. But as I've seen in my life, I continually get to repeat things so that they are fresh in my mind, so that I can share them with you, and hopefully they help you. And today is one of those days. It is my 40th birthday, which I really haven't thought much about until today, this very day. Like, I knew it was coming, but it wasn't really a big deal. I wasn't really worried about it. In fact, I'm sure that my husband asked me, I know he did, a few times up before this day, what did I want to do? Did I want to go somewhere? He showed me some restaurant to eat at. He asked me what I wanted. And to all of it, I said, nothing. I don't need anything. I'm good. I don't want anything. Well, but then I woke up today. It's like all of a sudden I was telling myself this massive fiction, massive story. I had this almost like an energy. It was more like the energy came and then I needed a story to go with it. And he became the victim of my story. He became the victim of my story, but in my story, he was the villain. He got to play the role of the villain. And maybe you can relate to this. Like, I don't know if you've ever had the birthday blues. I remember, like, I have felt this way on my birthday before, but it's been a while since I felt like this. A long time, actually, which is why I was so surprised when I started to be upset and weird today, because I haven't had issues like this in a long time. But I remember I think I turned I remember my 16th birthday, but maybe turning like somewhere between 13 and 16, and my mom trying to take me somewhere, and I did not want to be there, and I didn't feel loved, and I was upset about my parents' divorce and missing my dad. And then I guess more recently I have had issues, because I remember my parents visiting or something, and it was always like this idea that nobody really knows who I am, and nobody really appreciates me until my birthday. Then suddenly, like, people seem to care, and where are they the rest of the year? And so I've done a lot of healing work on that. I've done healing work on that idea that nobody cares. I've done healing work on the way my parents didn't treat me with love and respect every other day. And suddenly we're like kind and generous on my birthday. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. I've done healing work on asking for what I want and showing up and doing the thing I want. In fact, I just did that this weekend with my mom when she was here. She wanted to know where I wanted to go for lunch, and I told her, and then it sounded like, she didn't really want to go there, or I started to think that she wouldn't want to go there, and I was changing my mind. And then I just kind of excused myself, went upstairs, and I sat with them like, where is my full body yes? What do I actually really want to do? And so then I was brave enough to go say, this is what I want to do. And to remember that not everybody has to be happy. I don't have to make people happy. If it's truly my day and you want to take me out for something that I enjoy, here's the thing that's going to light me up. I've sat with it. This is what I want. I'm excited for this thing, which happened to be Red Lobster of all places, which I don't think I've been there in like 2 years, but it just sounded good. Those biscuits. Oh, get you with the biscuits. So I've been firm on that. I've been good at asking for what I want. Normally I'm really good with my husband. Like when I told him I didn't want anything, that was genuine. There wasn't really anything I wanted. So it's funny because when I first journaled this morning and I was just venting away, it almost felt like somebody else was writing the story. It really was like, I don't know where this is coming from because technically these are not issues for me. Like, what is my problem? And what I'm realizing as I go through all my processes for today, the story that I kept telling myself, I got my journal here if you're watching me on YouTube. I've got my self-coaching worksheet and had to whip that out. And the story became, because I think it was a combination of things, that like people don't like me, that I'm not lovable, that I'm not worth the effort, that people just don't like me, like they don't want to follow me, that I'm not a likable person. People don't want to spend time with me so much. So as I was digging into this, I realized that it's related to inner child stuff. Sorry for going deep with you today. I'm just going to share some of my process with you and help you know that one, you're not alone, and two, this is how you work through these things. And I'm good. I'm okay. But I think it's important for you to hear what happened to me so that you can take this work into your life and know you're not alone, because I know that I'm not alone. In fact, when I got on the phone with one of my friends, she was journaling the exact same stuff yesterday and today. So I know I'm not alone. So this particular point in my life, what I came to when I started to explore my trigger here, the thing that I have to heal from is actually my earliest years. When we look at this in terms of chakra development or child development, this is related to the root chakra, or basically in utero to about 12 months old. I've done a lot of inner child healing work. It is never focused on infancy. And I know just from what I've heard that I came into the world in a time of sadness because my mom's dog had to be put to sleep like the day I was born. And anybody who knows my mom knows that she is tight with her dogs. She's always had dogs, Great Danes. She loves them. She's extremely close to them. So I came into a bunch of sadness. And I don't think it was just related to the dog, but I know that that was happening. And then I came with a lot of, according to them, like I just cried all the time. I don't know if I was colicky or what, but I could not be soothed. In fact, my mom told me once, and this broke my heart to even hear it, she couldn't get me to stop crying. So she like threw water in my face to try to get me to stop crying. Apparently nothing they would do would get me to stop crying. So they would put me in like this hand crank swing, and I spent all my time in there. So I don't think that I was held a whole lot. When I can imagine that all my caregivers were dysregulated because, crying baby is so upsetting and they didn't know what to do. And so I've got all these things that I know happened, and who knows what happened with sleep? Like, who knows if they really responded to me when I cried, if they tried to sleep train me. I'm certain there was no co-sleeping. I'm certain I was in some kind of crib, so I was far away. So who knows what all happened there. And I have a 2-year-old older brother, 2 years older brother. Brother is 2 years older than me. So I know that he was incredibly close to my mom, and she was really worried about, hurting him or breaking his heart. So I know that there was probably some drama there where she was picking and choosing and trying to keep him happy, and maybe, putting me off to somebody else, my dad, or I think my uncle was visiting at the time. And on top of the things that I do know about that period, when I have done past life regression hypnosis on this, where you go back. And one of the ways that they first take you back is through your own birth, right? And then you go even further back to previous lives. And I'm not saying that whatever I saw is true, because I don't know. How could you know? But every single time, what I experience when I go back is this immense sadness. Like, I literally came to the world sad. Not only did I come into sadness, but I came here sad. And that other lifetimes before this one were not good. Like, bad things happened to me. I see where, I was just like beaten, I don't know. I don't know. This is the visual I get, like these very old times where people are just wearing robes, and I was the one being made an example of, and people are beating me with stones. I don't really know what's happening. And of course, it could all be my imagination. I don't know. But I get the sense, possibly, that my previous lifetimes were not great. And when I came here, I was sad. The sense I get is almost that I had to leave behind a child or a family to come into this world. And it probably would be helpful for you to know that I believe in reincarnation and that we come back lifetimes. Even if you don't believe any of that, the point is that I believe that I had some more healing work to do around this time period, around in utero to about 12 months old. So after I journaled, after I got it all out, and then after I did my self-coaching process, which, by the way, I resisted, I could feel as I was doing it that I wanted to move away from it. I wanted to distract myself. I was like, write down an answer and then pick up the phone, then write down an answer and then pick up the phone. There was something I didn't want to see. And I got a lot of spiritual wisdom, which I could share with you from that. That's the way this process works. It forces you to get out of the story and go back to the truth. And that was helpful. After I did that, then I did some inner child healing work, specifically with littlest me. And I found a picture of me when I was quite young, I'd say probably 2 to 3 months old. And I talked to that infant me. And first of all, when I even opened my mouth to say out loud anything to her, tears came, tears and tears. And even looking at her the first time, it was like I couldn't even accept her. I couldn't even see my own worth, even though I've done so much work just looking at a baby picture of me. I couldn't see it for a minute. And then, of course, I moved into the adult self, which is how we reparent. And I told her the story, as much as I know, of course, of how she came. This is what empathy is. I'm processing with her what happened, what it was like to come into a family with sadness because the dog passed away, what it was like to not be held, what it was like to have an upset tummy. That one really got me. So I think maybe I was in a lot of pain when I was a baby. And then you go into you always were worthy. You came here worthy. You came here perfect. You're this beautiful, divine little being, and you deserve to be held and for people to investigate your needs and to meet those needs and to be here for you and to support you and to not leave you in your crib to figure it out yourself, to not leave you there to just give up on somebody coming to meet your needs. What that did was create this, kind of leaving personality in me that said, nobody's going to show up. Nobody's going to meet my needs. Might as well be self-sufficient, self-reliant, independent. People are unreliable and are going to hurt you. So just do everything on your own. Which is why I became that in my life, the person who did everything, who needed nothing, who overgave to other people, who pushed people away, who kept people at a distance, and who knew that the only person I could rely on would be myself. So it's all related. So I did the inner child healing with her, and I included my body because this root chakra stuff really involves the body and getting into your body. And so for this, I was reaching, because one of the things that babies do when they need their mothers is they reach for them. They reach for them and nobody's there to get them. So I reached and I held myself and supported myself and talked to myself the way I would have talked to my own daughter or my own son now. And I visualized holding this infant me and just holding her so tightly and rocking her. And even just that, I could feel the tight spot that was in the lower part of my back just kind of melt away. This work is so powerful, and you can do it with a coach, you can do it with a therapist, but you can do it on your own too, and it makes a difference. It changes your life. My husband wasn't doing anything wrong this morning when he didn't have a card or didn't have the kids like ready with presents. He was playing a role in this healing journey of my life that I set him up to play, by the way. Absolutely set him up to play. And it brought me back to a place that needed to be healed. Had I instead stayed in that fiction and that story and didn't have these tools and didn't have this awareness, he would be the bad guy all day. I would have been so upset with him today, tomorrow, the next day, the next month. I might have divorced him. I should write down what I was saying. And it was funny because when I was doing the journaling, I knew that like, this isn't even me writing this. Who's this person that's complaining? These are not things that I say. I just don't say these things about him or anybody. No one wants to do anything with or for me. No one likes me. My husband doesn't give a single bleep about my birthday. He didn't help the kids do a single thing for me. I just feel unlovable, invisible, like I'm not worthy of anyone's attention, like people actually avoid liking me. I'm not a cool kid. No one wants to hang out with me or be my friend. No one wants to listen to me. I feel sad that I'm not worth the effort. He got me a card that was all about how I make him happy. And I was like, well, that's not even about me. What the heck? So I just went on and threw myself like this pity party. And that fear, whether it's coming from your inner child or it's coming from something you picked up from elsewhere, or it's coming even, I'm in pain today. I know this is TMI. I'm sorry. My period started today. It's full moon. I'm in physical pain. Emotions are heightened because that's the way full moons work. Other people are in pain. There's other fears going on about survival and those kinds of things. I'm either picking it up from there, or we start down this path of the story and we go into victim mode. And clearly the villain had to be my husband, but it was not true. Like I was telling a friend earlier, like I was looking at him through like this little tiny peephole and not looking at the whole big picture of things that he has done or does for me. Overall, he asked me multiple times what I wanted for my birthday. I told him nothing. He used to get me really nice, luxurious gifts, and I yelled at him so much about spending the money that he stopped doing that. And I never came back to him and said, oh, by the way, you can do that now. He actually did spend a ton of money on me on this pan that I decided we needed. That's like I can't even say it. It's a Staub pan. It's a French cast iron pan, but it was like almost $300 for one pan. He got me a really nice gift. Kids give me cards, do stuff for me all the time. I celebrate life every day. There's nothing different about this day that people need to come and make a big deal about me or need to show me that I'm special, because I feel worthy every single day. I have lots of friends, lots of people to talk to, lots of people who follow me, lots of people who hopefully hear my show and find some value in it. But I was ignoring all of that and telling myself this story. And like I said, if I didn't have the tools and the awareness, it would have become a fight and it would have been impossible for him to win because my mind was made up that he was the bad guy. And I was in such a pity party that I wouldn't have looked at it any other way. The only thing he could have done, and what he would have done had I met him with this, he doesn't even know that I was feeling any of this today. He doesn't even know because I knew that I was still working through it. And I knew that I was going to say something that wasn't really true because I was still in the middle of this fiction. And so I was just quiet and I knew I needed to process it on my own. But had I brought it to him, he's very good at empathy and he wouldn't have gotten hooked by my fear and he wouldn't have gotten defensive. He would have been like, what's going on? Why do you feel that way? And because I've done the work, I would have told him what's going on and like all the stories going through my head, and he wouldn't have bought into it. He's really good at not getting hooked by my fear most of the time. But I have so many beautiful clients, and either the wife or the husband often is telling themselves these fictions all day long that are usually related to something that happened in their childhood, some belief system, some way a parent was negligent or did not meet their needs in the way they needed them to. And we bring it into these adult relationships. And then when the mood strikes, or when it's our birthday, when something triggers the memory of what happened, whether it's our literal birth or maybe a phrase that somebody said, that's our opportunity to go in and heal from it instead of projecting that pain out onto the other person. That's our opportunity to go, whew, okay, I am writing some stories today, cancel all my appointments. I need to dive into this. I need to do the steps that I teach you in my program. Step number 1 is explore your triggers. Know why you are upset. Know where it's coming from. Step number 2 is to heal from those and do that loving adult self reparenting work that's necessary, or forgiveness, or burning, these belief systems, that these contracts that we signed before we even were old enough to sign a contract, right? I had to go through all that, and we do it on our own timeline. Usually I can do this work, at least those 2 steps, in less than 30 minutes, usually. Today, my conscious part of me wanted to do it, and something else in me wanted to hang on to that story. It was slow in the exploration. It was slow in getting to the truth of the situation. It even delayed the inner child healing. There was some part of me that has benefited from this not being healed inside. It's so much easier, right, to just blame another person. It feels so much better to go, phew, must be you. Must be you, sucker. Like, why are you in my life? If I just get rid of you, then I'll feel better. I'll be happy again. It's clearly you. But if we actually dig in, we actually explore a trigger and we heal, then we realize it was never about him. It was always something inside of us. And even if our parents played a role in it, we can't hold that against them. There's nothing we can do about that. All we can do is tend to that little girl or boy that's inside of us and heal from that experience, knowing that our parents were doing the best they could at the time. That's hopefully they were truly doing the best they could at the time. And based on their histories and all the things that happened to them, there's huge amounts of variation of what their best could have been. But there's no point to the blame, because blame keeps us a victim. It keeps us in these situations where we fight and blame and feel defensive. It keeps us in a place of fear. Now, the 3rd step in my program after the healing is energetic coherence. Now that I've used all this, now that I have grown and up-leveled, it's time to shift up into a place of love. But I want to share with you real quick. The second half of my process like I said earlier, takes you to the truth of the matter. And when I do this, I literally write the truth is, and then I'm able to just listen for what I hear and write it down. I don't think about it. It's not something I'm coming up with. It's coming through me. And I really think that that's true for almost everybody I've ever worked with. If you can shut off that inner editor and shut off that like human kind of part of you and just listen for what you hear, or even listen for your body, like lean into your body, ask your body what the question is, you will usually get so much wisdom. And we do a little prep work before we go to that place. But I got some amazing stuff that I never would have thought was any way related to this when I was writing down everything about being unlovable and being unworthy and how I push people away. And one of the key things, I guess I won't read it all to you, but one of the key takeaways was that humans, because we all have these rich histories and backgrounds, like it makes me think about those old pots that some people use, speaking of pots and pans. You know how like in different cultures and stuff, there's like a pot that gets used over and over and over again. And it's like seasoned for that particular meal. And the pot itself, because it's held so many of these meals, it changes the taste of the food that's being made in it, right? Like we have these seasoned selves with these rich, complex, layered depths to ourselves. And we bring that to the table. And because we bring that to the table, and because we have animal instincts and human fears, survival skills, because we're made of matter and because we do have to survive, we bring all this stuff and we really just aren't the best people to live with, right? Like we're really kind of just hard. Relationships are really just kind of hard because you want the other person to always be where I'm at on a good day, right? Like healed, it doesn't have a triggered, isn't in a place of fear, has healed, is in a place of love, is completely regulated, no nervous system issues, has positive intentions with unconditional positive regard for you, is really skilled at holding space and empathy and can really see you and help you understand yourself, and is a skilled communicator who can help you like logically think through what you're experiencing. That's what we want from people. We want people to be that for us. We want our parents to be these amazing people whose cups are always full and are all the things that I just mentioned. But what I got was that we are just human, because that is the point of our existence, to use each other to trigger these different things so that we can heal from them and we can get closer to love, because what our baseline energy is supposed to be is love. And we have to see the illusion of the birthday blues to get closer to the reality of who we are, which is love. And we have to remember that the only being thing that's really going to be that consistent thing for us is whatever you call God, is source, is the place that we all came from, whatever it is that we are when we are not inside these bodies. And if you can remember that through other people, you can be served by that hand of God, then you can find peace. When you can know that the person, the human in front of you, is not always going to reflect your light, not always going to understand who you are, not always going to show you your worth, because the fact is they're probably trying to figure out their own worth right now. They probably don't even know their own light right now. They've got stuff to heal from. But if you can remember to rely on source, universe, God, to show itself and to support you through people and places and experiences, then it will be there for you. But you have to look for it. And sometimes you will be the one that brings it out in the other person. Because when you leave the fear behind and you align to love, that's when you can hear God through other people. That's when you can connect to God through other people. And only authenticity does that, because we are not that authentic, real self until we are aligned to love, until we fully know our worth, until we fully know that we are so much more than the body or the bank account or the things we do or the things we have. We have to get aligned to who we authentically are. If you depend on every human in your life to be there, you're going to be let down, because we're all working on it. And the fastest way to get the humans that you love, the ones that you love in your life, to be that for you is to shift up into that love and connect to that God, that source, that who we really are through the other person. You bring it out of them. You attract them. You pull the light out of them by shining your own. And you can't do that if you're living in the dark and telling yourself stories about how they let you down and how you made a mistake and how it must be that nobody likes you. It must be that there's something wrong with you and you're not likable. This fiction, this fear, is something that we have to rise above from a conscious place, from a loving place. And then you can have a beautiful birthday. Remember, like, every day is the day to celebrate. And I'm so glad that I chose my family and had the experience I did, because it put me right here in this seat with you today. And I am eternally grateful that you are here listening and that we get to connect on this level. That's all for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week.